So I've been in search for the perfect slider now for several years, and every time I buy a slider, I always tell myself, this is it, this is the one. And for whatever reason, I end up being disappointed or something happens. Actually, the last slider I had was the Edelkrone slider. That was actually a pretty good slider. There was a couple of quirks that I didn't like about it. I ended up selling it, and I kind of wanted a new slider. So this year at NAB, I started looking around. I was on a mission to find that perfect slider, and I think I might have found it. This is the iFootage Shark Slider X2 Mini. This slider impressed me a lot because it allows you to do very complex shots that typically I would not even expect that you can do on a slider. So let's go ahead and start off with why I like the slider. For one, I love the modularity. So this thing, as you see it right now, is fully built, but it will compact down to like a very small backpack that you can fit it basically in here. And I'll show you guys how this works. So right now, like I said, this is fully assembled 100%, and you can keep building onto it. So the rails come apart. So I'll show you guys very easily how that happens. So this rail, you can buy additional rails, like I said, and expand to it. And I like the fact, so one of the things on Edelkrone that I didn't like was that it was belt driven. So those belts start to wear out. They start to have this weird like jitteriness. I didn't really like this. This is all CNC machined, and the rail itself is built into the track. So as you connect this piece right here, it becomes one solid piece. And like I said, the modularity, keeping it small very easily, like that a lot. So now it becomes one piece, one solid piece. Now, if I wanted to build upon this, all I need to do is just unlatch this, take the little feet off, and now I can continue extending the track and making it a little bit longer. So without having to rebuy a whole brand new slider because I want a larger one. So basically, depending on your scene or depending on the shot, you can keep it small, you can keep it medium, or you can even go larger. So I really like that a lot. Now, if you want to use this on the floor, the little legs actually do come apart, or not come apart, but they expand. So it has this little rosette style that I like too. So we're gonna go ahead and just unloosen that, and then unloosen this over here. And now you have this little feet that you can pretty much adjust to any level on the floor, and you get this really nice movement. And I'll probably roll some B-roll on top of that so you guys can see what that looks like. So yeah, this is pretty much, like I said, fully built. Now, what I like about this is that you can use it in manual mode, or you can use this as a motorized slider. And I'm gonna tell you right now, the motorized feature on this is worth it. So let's talk about if you wanna use it, without the motor. So this is like a traditional slider, very smooth. Now, one thing that makes it really smooth, and you've probably seen this from the other iFootage sliders, is this little flywheel, and it's typically on this side. It's a really large flywheel. I don't remember that model. I think it's called just the Shark slider, I believe, but it sits right up here. So this guy actually goes over here, and I'll show you guys. Let me go ahead and attach this. And once this little flywheel's in place, if I go ahead and just move this, it basically helps, or it uses the inertia from your movement to slow it down. So it basically lets you do some very smooth cinematic shots. So as I push it and I let go, it doesn't just stop abruptly. It'll actually just kind of fade down, so that way your movement is not very jittery. So I like that a lot. So again, you're not going to use this when you have the motorized part, because the motorized is really the killer feature. So you can replace the head. This is the head right now that's the motorized. Now you're looking at this from behind. Normally this would be on this side, but obviously I want you guys to see all of the different controls and stuff. So let me go ahead and remove the flywheel so you guys can see other things that it's capable of doing. So this slider is very powerful. So you can actually move this. I'll show you. You can rotate this or move this into an angle. And now when you move the head this way, if I move the legs to 45 degrees, you get this type of movement, this little 45-degree angle where you're moving up and down. So this is why you can do this with the head. Now again, this is the motorized head. So this takes the little Sony batteries that you see on the A6300, the original A7, A7S2, A7R2. I'm sure if you're shooting with Sony, you're very familiar with this type of battery. So both the bottom part, the head, and the motor take this, and I'll show you guys the motor in a second. So here I have the motor, and this connects very similar to the flywheel. So you see this little groove back here, this little metal piece. This attaches right below. I'll show you guys. Just like that. Same thing, Sony batteries. So again, this takes the Sony battery, and then the head takes the Sony battery. So let's go ahead and mount a camera. I got this little Sony a7 III, very small and compact. I'm gonna go ahead and just put that on there, tighten this up. And like I said, I'm facing it your way so that way you guys can see. So let me go ahead and just turn this on. So now the way this works is you power on the head first, or at least I like to power on the head first, and then you just kind of hold this down. And then what's gonna happen is this will calibrate itself. You don't have to do anything, just leave it alone. It'll calibrate by itself. It takes maybe like 15 seconds. And then once it's done calibrating, it'll stop on its own. And then from there, what I like to do is actually turn on the little sled below. Same thing, you hold it down, and then you'll kind of see the little lights blink, and then it'll automatically just kind of slide to one side, and then you're basically done. Then from there, what you need to do is load up the iPhone app. As of filming this, they only have an iPhone app, and then you'll see it right here. There's a lot of things you can do. I can't go through everything because this video will literally be an hour long. But I'll show you guys some of the key features. So one of my favorite ones is the manual control. Now, before I show you that, this does sync with Bluetooth, so you have to make sure to connect to it. So right now, there's two things that are in place. So we have the actual sled, and then we have the head. So I'm gonna go ahead and just turn it on. Turn it on. Basically, turning it on means connecting to it, and that's basically it. They are now paired, it is now connected, and you're basically ready to go. So now when we go to one of my favorite modes, which is the manual control, it gives you almost like a little controller that you would if you're gonna play like PlayStation or something like that. So if I move to the right, the actual sled moves to the right. If I pan left, the actual head will pan left and right, or I can tilt up too. If I do that, I can do everything all manual using the smartphone. So I don't have to worry about it. I can just control this dude at the same time, get some movement. Now, my favorite feature on this whole entire system is their target control. That's where you get to set an A and B point. So for example, if I move the slider over here, and let's say, for example, I want this to be my A point. So I'll go ahead and push on A right here. And then let's say I want my B point to be completely different, then I'll set my B point and it'll automatically track. The best way for me to demonstrate this is to actually bring you on set right now and show you exactly what I mean. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So I've set up this tracking shot and I want to demonstrate how I'm going to pull this off. So I will be using the Sony a7 III with the Sigma 18-35. Now this lens is very heavy. So the recommended payload is 1.5 kilograms for the top part of it, which means it'll exceed this. You will need to get the X2 Mini L plate in order to go up to 3 kilograms, which I believe is like 6.5 pounds if my math is correct. So the way that attaches is to the side over here, which I actually prefer using this anyway, even if I was using a lighter camera, just because you get a lower center of gravity, which I like, and that's why you're able to extend the weight. So we're gonna go ahead and just slide our a7 III here. Go ahead and just tighten that up. And then we have to recalibrate this. So remember in the beginning of the video, I told you guys you have to hold the power button down and then just kind of let it do its thing. So let's go ahead and just do that. While that goes on, I'm gonna go ahead and just reconnect this to Bluetooth because the X2 Mini is not connected anymore because we had to turn it off. So I'm gonna go ahead and just reconnect it. Now we are connected. Now let's go ahead and show you this awesome target control. So now let's go ahead and just turn the camera on, move my A position. So what we're gonna do now is set the A position. So I'm just gonna move it right about right there. That looks really good. Just a little bit more forward up here. Okay, perfect. That was the A position, so I'll just go ahead and hit A right here. So this is my A point. Now let's do B point. So I'm just gonna go ahead and slide this over to the right. What I wanna do, and something I didn't show you guys, is I wanna go ahead and lock my tilt, because I don't wanna tilt up or down, but I do wanna pan. So I'm just gonna go ahead and lock that right now before I move anything. And then I'm gonna pan to the left. Right about, actually that's pretty good. That works. So that, I'm gonna go ahead and just set my B point, and then I'm gonna go ahead and rewind that. So now it's gonna go ahead and do its thing, rewind back to the A position, and I'm ready to record. Now the cool thing about this is that every time I do this, no matter how many times I do this, it's going to give me the exact same movement every single time. So that movement's gonna be precise. You're gonna get precision movement throughout A and B, and you can do some really cool stuff. So the last thing I wanna show you is basically how long that's gonna take. How long do I want it to take from A to B? So right over here, we can set the time. So right now it's set to 21 seconds. Maybe I want it a little bit quicker we'll go ahead and set that to 17 seconds. So meaning from point A to point B, I want it to take 17 seconds. So I'm gonna go ahead, something really cool on the A7 III is that you can track your object. I went ahead and selected my little Iron Man figure, hit record, and now I'm gonna go ahead and push on play. And then automatically, it's going to take 17 seconds from point A to point B. And now it's gonna give me this incredible parallax effect from the front of his face all the way to the side of his face. And then boom, we are done. Stop recording. There we go. Now, let's say, for example, that was just too fast. I want to slow it down even further. No problem. I'll go ahead and go back to its beginning position. So I'll hit rewind. And then I'm going to change from 17 seconds all the way up to 25. Or you know what? Let's do 30 seconds to really give it some time. I'm going to go ahead and just track my little Iron Man figure here. Hit record. And then I'm just going to go ahead and push on play. Now it's going to take 30 seconds, and it's going to give us this really nice, slow, controlled movement that is precise. I don't have to do anything. I know that my shot is going to be perfect every single time. So after using the slider now for, I want to say almost close to 6 months, I really have no complaints. The app sometimes can be a little glitchy and weird, but they're constantly updating it, so a lot of times it just gets better and better. Also, I haven't really used this to its full potential, so this is not a review by any means. It's just a video that I wanted to showcase one of my favorite sliders, and as I continue to use it, I learn new things and use different styles and techniques that you can use. But if you guys are interested in picking one up, I will leave a link down below in the description so you guys can go ahead and check it out. Thanks for watching this video. If you guys have any questions, leave me a comment down below. Also follow me on Instagram at MondoBytes if you guys want to see behind the scenes. Thanks again for watching, and you will catch me in the next one. Adios.